Good morning, guys. Welcome to this week's Sunday ID. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe during this coronavirus lockdown situation. And so to kick things off for this week, we are going to be doing a quick Bible quiz. Yes, that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to have 6 questions. It's going to be a quick little quiz for you guys just to get your brains working before we go into the talk. So our first question is, how many years did Noah live after the flood? So yeah, it's how many years did Noah live after the flood? That is the first question. So, question number 2 is, what was the former name of Paul of Tarsus? His name wasn't originally Paul, so what was his name before then? And so, question number 3. There are 3 angels named in the Bible, 2 of them being Michael and Lucifer. What is the name of the 3rd angel that is named in the Bible? So, question number 4. So, in which book is the Red Sea parted? Which book of the Bible is the Red Sea parted in, guys? I'm sure most of you probably already know that, but yeah, we'll see. So, what are the first 3 words in the Bible? That is quite a tricky one. I think most of you will kick yourselves when you see it if you don't get it, but yeah, it's an interesting one. And then finally, so how many days and nights did Jesus fast for? So yeah, those are our 6 questions. And so now, if you guys have missed any of those, you can rewind and find them, or, you know, if you now want the answers, I'm going to give the answers now. So the answer to the first question of how many years did Noah live after the flood is 350 years. Gosh, how did they even manage that back then? I don't know, that's a long old time. But yeah, 350 years. And so, the former name of Paul of Tarsus was Saul. You know, pretty much the same name, just with an S. And then the 3rd question was about the 3rd angel that is named in the Bible alongside Michael and Lucifer, and that is the angel Gabriel. I'm sure you would have all heard that name before, so if you didn't get it, you might be kicking yourselves about it. I would be. And then the 4th question, the 4th answer to that is Exodus. That is the book of the Bible where the Red Sea is parted. And so the 5th question, the first 3 words in the Bible are in the beginning. So yeah, it was in the beginning that, you know, God created the world and everything like that. So that's when, yeah, those are the first 3 words. And then, so finally, the 6th question, the answer to the 6th question is 40. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and without further ado, we are now going to be going into the talk. Caleb is going to be taking us through the story of Gideon.
Hey guys, it's Sunday. This is part 5 of our series, Faith Greater Than Fear. So far we've looked at Abraham, Noah and Moses, and how they've had to choose faithfulness when everything has seemed impossible, when they've been afraid. They've chosen faithfulness to God over running away or giving up. And today we're looking at someone new, a man from the Old Testament called Gideon, and he was a mighty warrior. See, so far in Gideon's story, the Israelites have been really bad. You remember earlier on in the Old Testament when God rescued them out of Egypt? Well, they haven't been faithful in return, and so God is allowing them to be attacked by the Midianites, an evil group of people, and they're destroying all of their crops and all of their food. So why would God allow the Midianites to wreck all their land and steal all their stuff? Well, sometimes God allows things to happen to teach us an important lesson. The Israelites have been really bad, and they're not paying attention to God's rules, and they're harming themselves in the process. But God has a plan for them. Despite their unfaithfulness, God is still faithful. So let's read Gideon's story, Judges 6 verse 14. It says this: the Lord turned to him and said, this is to Gideon, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of the Midian's hands. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." And the Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Yikes. The weakest army in Manasseh against 30,000 men. Yet the Midianites were very large, and the Manasseh army, they were just 32,000. And guess what? God tells Gideon that 32,000, that's too many. And so he whittles them down to just 300. 300 men against 132,000 men. Effectively, that's a bit less than 2/3 of our church against more than the entire population of Eastbourne. That's pretty scary. So what's God doing? That seems like a command that's destined to fail, right? But God is doing this so that the Israelites know only God could possibly be the reason for them winning. And that's what they do. Gideon goes on to beat the entire Midianite army. Only God could have done that. See, because Gideon chose to trust God, put his faith in God rather than run away scared, God was faithful to help him. God proves once again that he is 100% dedicated to these people. But what does this story have to do with me and you? Well, the coronavirus is kind of like the Midianites. God didn't make the Midianites cruel and evil, just like he didn't create the coronavirus. Humans are responsible for both, but maybe he lets both of them happen, not because he wants suffering, but because maybe what we can learn from the hardship is more valuable than our own safety. We have the opportunity to learn how to be faithful, something that we might never have learned in safety and comfort. See, during times of struggle, we're forced to press in deeper into God, where we find peace and security. Not safety, but a hope for a new creation where we will all be safe forever, where there's no more suffering. Fear only leads to more fear, but faith leads to an abundance of joy and confidence and true comfort. See, God has a habit of choosing the weakest people. It says in that short passage that we read that Gideon's clan was the weakest in Massena and that he himself was the least in his family. See, God chooses who seem to be the weakest people to do the greatest tasks, because it shows us that even if we're very weak and feel that we can't do it in our own strength, when we put our faith in God, we can do anything, even defeat 32,000 men when we're just 300. God loves to show us that he is faithful and dedicated to us, and he doesn't care if we're weak or if we're strong. All he cares about is loving us and drawing us deeper into a relationship with him.
Good morning, guys. I hope you're all doing all right. So I'm going to be taking you through the object lesson for this week to kind of give you a description of kind of an analogy, I guess, of how kind of faith and fear works. So you would have looked at Gideon with Caleb, but I'm going to kind of give you a bit of a demonstration of what that can kind of be like in our lives. So for this, I've got these two bottles here. And so one of them, this one that's empty, represents us when we aren't filled with faith. And this one with water represents when we are filled with faith. So I'm going to start with the one that isn't filled. So when you're not filled with faith, fear can really like crush you. If you get hit with fear, it will just literally crush the bottle. Like it will crush it, it will destroy it. That's going to make a very loud noise. See, it just kind of bends and breaks according to the will of fear. And we can become like that sometimes with fear. Like sometimes when we fear something in our lives, it can really kind of shape us as people. And that can really change us and how we act. Like when I crushed that bottle, it bended to like my hand. Sometimes fear can shape us. Whereas if I take this kind of water here, this one that is filled with kind of faith and trust, when I hit it, or I squeeze it, or I try and crush it, I can't. I physically can't, because the pressure of the water is preventing me from being able to actually do that. So I think that's a really good way of showing what that does in our lives, being filled with faith in God. Because when we get hit with fear, fear can no longer shape us. Instead of being shaped or changed or being made anxious by our fears, they can kind of bounce off us, and they can, we can hold fast. Like this bottle holds completely sturdy and fast and just goes back to normal, even though I'm trying to squeeze it and crush it. And that's what it's like when you take on your fears, when you're filled with faith in God. It kind of gives you this kind of protective barrier. It always keeps you in place. So yeah, that's what this is kind of trying to show you. It's trying to show you that when you're filled with faith in God, fear bounces off you, and actually you remain kind of strong in yourself because God is kind of filling you up and supporting you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're now going to move on to Ruth for the application.
Whoopa! Hello, amazing young people. I hope you are well and happy and healthy and are staying safe and staying sane during lockdown. I really miss you guys, and I just cannot wait for us to be back together again, and I can't wait for us to enjoy a really nice banging hot chocolate together. Comment down below what you were most excited for when youth starts back up again, because I would love to know, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So if you guys have been looking at the series in its duration, if you've been looking at past videos, you would have seen and heard that we have started a new series called Faith Over Fear. And this series is just about how we can use our faith, our trust in Jesus and our love of God to overcome our fear, our anxiety and our worry. And this week, Caleb and Nathan have both brought us the story of Gideon and showed us how we can use our faith to overcome our fear. You know, we are in a situation like never before, and it's normal and it's okay if you're scared, if you're anxious, if you're worried. You know, I myself have experienced anxiety and have experienced worry during this time. Worry and stress and anxiety that this is just going to be life now and maybe we're never going to go back to normal. Worry and stress and anxiety of, but what about, what if my family get ill? What if my loved ones that are ill and are sick get ill? It's okay and it's normal to experience fear and worry. And yeah, sometimes our fear and our worry can feel overwhelming and can feel out of control. But what we can control is our response to fear. So are we going to respond with panic and with stress and with tears? Or are we going to respond in the same way that Gideon did? Are we going to respond with, okay God, I'm going to trust you, I'm going to put my faith in you? What if God has got a bigger story in store for us in this? What if God wants to do incredible things in and through us in this time? What if, rather than being fearful, we are filled with hope, knowing that actually there's goodness in the situation? You know, when the Israelites were in Egypt, in the wilderness, and they were waiting, they still had good things in that period of waiting. They had food, they had water, you know, God provided for them, He protected them, and they also had each other. They weren't alone. And I just encourage you guys that actually you aren't alone as well. Although you may feel isolated from your friends, like, please just give them a call. There will always be someone that cares about you. And most importantly, you always have God. And I just kind of challenge you guys, do you go to God with your anxiety and with your fear and with your worry? 1 Peter tells us to cast all of our anxiety on Him because He cares about us. You know, God is a personal God and He wants us to go to Him when we're anxious. And you might sit there and say, but God already knows when I'm anxious and when I'm worried, so why do I need to go to Him? And that is true. You know, God knows everything about us. He is all-knowing. So why do we need to go to Him when we're anxious and when we're worried? But actually it's for our benefit, it's for our good. When we express our anger, our resentment, our impatience, our annoyance, our anxieties, it's good for us just to give it to God rather than carry the burden ourselves. Give it to the one that carries every single burden, everything for us, in replacement for us. So I'd really just challenge you guys on that. And if you aren't doing well during this time, please let one of your leaders know, or reach out to us somehow. We would love to chat to you and be there for you as much as we can. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday and a great rest of your week, and I really, really hope and pray that I'll be able to see you soon. Bye.